Hello ladies and gentlemen, Big Daddy Top Hat here, and as things stand it seems that we are living through the beat-em-ups renaissance period, and we have been given amazing games such as Streets of Rage 4 and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredders Revenge to play through. Both of these amazing games that have been published by Dotemu has got me wondering and pondering which classic beat-em-up franchise I would like to see brought back from the dead next. So in today's upload, let us discuss my top 5 favourite picks. Yeah! One of my favourite arcade brawlers from back in the day was certainly the XMen game that was developed and published by Japanese arcade giants Konami. They were a fantastic company back in the day, wasn't they? But yeah, that one was particularly special as it appeared to use the same engine as Turtles Arcade. However, on this occasion, the game actually had 6-player cooperative functionality, just like Shredders Revenge that has been released very recently. Now, when we consider what an amazing job Tribute Games did with the development of that game, surely they will be able to do an equally fantastic job when making a new X-Men game. And come to think about it, considering the original was 6 players, why not up the tempo a little bit and make an X-Men arcade style game with 8-player cooperative play instead? Wouldn't that be chaotic? Wouldn't that be wonderful? There is one pretty big obstacle though that stands in the way that may stop this from ever actually happening, and that relates directly towards X-Men's current IP holder, who is the dastardly Walt Disney, who, to be fair, do some quite frankly disgraceful things with their licenses when it comes to video games. And it often comes down to the fact that they want to just get the biggest publisher possible, such as EA for example, and get them to publish all of their games. It's more about let's push our games out to the biggest market as possible rather than create the best game possible. That's at least how it feels to me with anything Disney and gaming related in the 21st century. However, I do have one very good reason why it would be beneficial for them to work with the likes of Dotemu and Tribute Games, the development house behind the Turtles game, when it comes to their X-Men license, as at present they are currently working on an animated series known as X-Men 97, which looks to carry on where the 90s X-Men cartoon left off. Now, bearing in mind that this show seems to be planned around building a retro aesthetic around a classic show and carrying it on, surely it would logically make sense to make a retro themed video game based around this series. And who better for such a job than Tribute Games and Dotemu, who could give us a Shredder's Revenge like experience based around the new, or old, depends how you look at it, X-Men 97 concept. So, everyone involved, please make X-Men 97, the arcade game, the real deal. Another quite frankly, glaringly obvious beat-em-up to revive would of course be Sega's Golden Axe franchise. What a classic game that was, which took Lord of the Rings influence, Conan the Barbarian, and even a dash of Dragon Quest as well. But yes, that amazing game would be great to see a modern revival. And personally, I don't see this one being out of the question whatsoever, especially when we consider that Streets of Rage is also a Sega game, and the original Streets of Rage game was made in the same engine as Golden Axe. So keeping that in mind, it would only make sense, wouldn't it, to make a new Golden Axe game, a Golden Axe 4 for example, using the exact same engine as Streets of Rage 4. It would be poetic in itself, wouldn't it? So yes, a lovely Dotemu published, Lizard Cube developed Golden Axe game would be wonderful. The only argument against this one is, has there been too much damage done to the Golden Axe brand over the years, because as beat-em-ups went out of fashion back in the day, it seems that they appeared to try and reposition the franchise badly over and over again. There was that horrible Sega Saturn fighting game, Golden Axe the Duel. There was a random action RPG, Axe Battler on the Game Gear. There was the Master System game as well, wasn't there? What was that one called? Golden Axe Warrior. And then worst of all, there was that abomination that was published on the Xbox 360. Golden Axe Beast Rider. Yuck. But hopefully, bearing in mind we are now in 2022 and beat-em-ups are given far more respect than they were a few years ago, let's have a classic revival of what made Golden Axe so great in the first place. The next one I would like to see brought back is another Konami classic, The Simpsons Arcade, making up almost a holy trinity of licenses between The Simpsons, The Turtles and the X-Men. 3 classics, all developed and published by Konami around the same sort of era. In fact, there has already been one attempt to revive this license back around 2010, I believe, where they made a new Simpsons Arcade game, which was, I must say, an utter disgrace, which was released exclusively on mobile devices. Now, that game was a complete embarrassment. But thankfully it seems to have failed so terribly that most people don't even seem to remember that one exists. However, obviously we've got the same stumbling block with this one as what we would have with the X-Men, in the fact that this is a Disney-held license these days. The bastards seem to have gobbled up near enough everything over the years. So yeah, I would really like to see a new Simpsons Arcade game. But the only thing is, obviously the way Disney treat The Simpsons is nothing more than a corporate cash cow. And when we bear in mind that beat-em-ups are very popular, there are more popular genres of modern games out there where I'm sure they could easily shove a lot more microtransactions in and just let EA develop an all-new Simpsons game. So there might be a few things in the way to stop a true new Simpsons Arcade game ever becoming a reality. And then you've got to think, do fans even want a new Simpsons Arcade game when we consider how naff and uncool modern Simpsons is these days? It's literally the least inspiring show you could possibly watch on your television set. So if we did get a new Simpsons game, somehow I would want it to be like retro themed Simpsons. So I'd like loads of characters in it like Marvin Monroe, Uncle Herb, what was his name? Was it Frank Grimes? Is that the one? The man who worked with Homer and then killed himself because he was jealous. Characters like them. I want to see classic Simpsons characters. None of this utter awful crap they put out these days with characters like Lady Gaga in. Simpsons is meant to be counterculture. Another classic beat 'em up I'd like to see brought back is one that has actually been brought back time and time again. Double Dragon, which obviously was originally released way back in 1986. We then got a great sequel, Double Dragon Revenge, released the following year. Then every entry after that was essentially some kind of bizarre reimagining. We got Double Dragon 3. In fact, I'm not even going to name them all because it will make the editing way too complicated and be too time consuming. But when it comes to all the revivals, perhaps the greatest of them all came in 2012 in the form of Double Dragon Neon, a video game that IGN absolutely hated and buried into the ground, but a game I've got a soft spot for and definitely have found a lot of enjoyment from it, from its ridiculous humour and awesome mechanics, including a nice innovative parry system. So I really like Double Dragon Neon, and characters like Skullmageddon are quite frankly charming and hilarious simultaneously, and that's without even taking into account the amazing soundtrack. Yes, it's rough around the edges, but a Double Dragon 2 would be quite frankly wonderful in this time period. Double Dragon is currently owned by Arc System Works these days, and when it comes to Double Dragon Neon, that game was developed by Way Forward Technologies, the same Way Forward Technologies who brought us the Shantae series, But much more relevant to this video, they're also the geniuses behind River City Girls and are currently working on River City Girls 2. So a new Double Dragon game made with the same graphical style as River City Girls would be just brilliant, wouldn't it? I would love to see that, especially if it was called Double Dragon Neon 2 and featured that style music and some of the presentation. Yeah, I just love Double Dragon Neon. I love River City Girls, so I would love a Double Dragon Neon 2 that combines the two together. But bearing in mind how popular River City Girls is, it wouldn't surprise me if they worked on a River City Girls 3 before they got round to making a new Double Dragon. Last on this list we have one of the most iconic beat-em-ups of all time. But to be fair, all the games on this list are very iconic. The one I am of course referring to is Final Fight, released in 1989 by Capcom. Now, this game built on everything that Double Dragon had established previously and took everything up a notch. This was a great game. You obviously had Mike, Haggar, Cody, Guy. It was brilliant, wasn't it? Bloody Final Fight. What an amazing game. But bizarrely, after the 1989 game, most of the Final Fight games slowly became utter crap. The Super Nintendo version of the first game was a terrible port. Final Fight 2 and 3 were nothing really to rave about. And then Final Fight Revenge on the Sega Saturn panned out to be a complete joke of a fighting game. And that's without even mentioning bloody Final Fight Streetwise, the horrible budget ripoff of GTA 3 that absolutely run the IP into the ground. So, if Capcom were to bring the series back, it would have to be like a beat-em-up of old. And considering we've not got a great Final Fight since 1989, I would really like to see this next one finally top that classic game. But again, because it's Capcom and a lot of their games can be very hit and miss, I would be quite worried with regards to what they are actually going to deliver to us. Obviously there has been leaks in the past year or two that indicate they are indeed planning to release a new Final Fight, but what we will get is yet to be seen. You got to remember, this is the same Capcom who are absolutely obsessed with releasing games that come out in seasons, full of microtransactions and DLC. So if we do get a Final Fight game, how much of a Final Fight game we're going to get in one dose? Because I could imagine some dreadful download only game where you get given the first level for free, and then they make you pay for the second one, and then you can only play as Guy, and then you have to pay for Haggar, and then you have to pay for Cody. So please, please, Capcom, if you're going to give us a new Final Fight, please do not F it up. Please give us a proper beat 'em up, as good as Streets of Rage 4, as good as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredders Revenge. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, that has been my list. I want to see a new X-Men, I want to see a new Simpsons, I want to see a new Golden Axe, I want to see a new Final Fight, and I want to see a new Double Dragon. So, everyone out there who develops video games, get working on those games now, and give Big Daddy Top Hat some fun. Let me know in the comment section down below, ladies and gentlemen, which of these series you would like to see brought back from the dead next, and why. Cheerio.